This is what you do with two broken Dodges. You fix them at once.
I have a problem. Well, actually, I have two problems. And the biggest one of those is I keep buying broken cars. You see, I've really done it to myself this time. I bought two broken Dodge cars. And while I hate that company, I'm gonna try to fix these cars and get them back in working order. And in this video, we're going to discover everything that's wrong with each of these cars and why exactly I got them so cheap and why exactly one is going to cost way more than the other to fix when they're basically the same exact car for the same exact price. Now this first car is a 2014 Dodge Journey, and it's not actually owned by just me, it's owned by the shop. It's just my job to fix it and flip it and get some money for the shop. Now this thing came to us with a bad transmission and it had left the lady sitting on the side of the road. She was pretty much done with it as she wanted a new car because her husband already had a new one. Now the cause of the issue with the Journey is still unknown, but we can pretty much guarantee that the filter is getting clogged up inside the transmission by some type of debris. Now with the Dodge Caravan, it's a totally different story. I bought this thing from a friend of mine who was trying to dump it off on somebody. And lucky me, I was the one. Now I probably paid more than I should have for it as this thing is in nowhere near as good a condition as the Dodge Journey. But $750 was the price for both of them, even though the Caravan has a cracked bumper and several other issues. It also seems like it was ran down in the mud a few too many times. Now the Caravan still does move, but nowhere near as good as the Journey, and when you go to the stop, it seems like the transmission is stalling out the engine by being locked up inside. Now this usually is not a good sign, but as always, we're going to ignore all the red flags and take this thing apart and see what we can do to get it back together. Now when I start taking the transmission out of this Journey, I start to remember why I hate Dodge so much. There's about 12 different sizes that hold this transmission up in the car. And every time I go to get a socket, it seems like I keep grabbing the wrong size. Regardless, we press on and we get the Dodge Journey out in about an hour and a half, which is pretty good considering it usually takes about 3 hours.
All right, we got the torch working.
The Caravan, we weren't so lucky. We had to fight through the 12 different sizes, and we also had to fight the axles, which were seized up in the hubs.
So usually the air hammer gets these axles out pretty well, but these are being pretty stubborn. We got some penetrating gel to try to break them loose, but that hasn't done anything. Now we got the torch out and we're just gonna torch it. That's probably the hardest part of all of this.
And then once we finally did get the transmission out of the Caravan, the torque converter was purple. And it's not supposed to be that color.
Look how hot that torque converter got. You can see the discoloration.
It's supposed to be silver, just like this Journey torque converter. And the purple color means this thing got really hot. So hot, it tarnished the steel of the torque converter and made it this beautiful purple color.
This is a 62 TE, as Dodge calls it, and it's a 6-speed front-wheel drive transmission. You'll find them mainly in Dodge Caravans, Journeys. You can also find them in a few other things as well. Now these transmissions are known for a number of issues, and the main one is usually lack of maintenance. People don't take care of them because there's no dipstick. They don't know how to check the fluid, and they just simply never check it, never change it, and it just wears out, and one day the car don't move. Now this one came out of a Dodge Journey and it would not move after about 30 minutes of driving. And this one came out of a Dodge Caravan and it had a weird issue. Originally it wouldn't move forward, then we filled it up with transmission fluid and it did move forward. And it would move forward and continue trying to move forward once you press the brake, so much that it would stall out the engine and cut off the car. And we believe this is caused by a torque converter clutch being commanded on or either stuck on and just stalling out the vehicle, kind of like a manual transmission. You can see how hot this converter got compared to this one over here. And that's probably part of the reason, you know, it was shutting off, and this one had a few more problems than this one did. So now we're going to take both of these transmissions apart, see what's wrong with them, and see how much they're going to cost to fix for each of them. All right, so first, we're I'm gonna get this side pan off. Alright, there's the valve body and solenoid block. This is all of our accumulators. That's a little metallic-y there. Down. Rebuild it. Now we got all the gears left. This is your input drum right here. And it don't look like them clutches are that smoked. We got, looks like a sun gear and hub. Those still don't look that burnt. They look a little burnt. I feel like most of the damage we're going to find in both of these transmissions is in the converter. No burnt. A little bit of wear, but not burnt. Alright, two big old gears back here. And I'm pretty sure both of them got to come off. Alright. So that's one completely taken apart. Now we got another one.
Now before we cut the torque converters open, I want to see how bad the Caravan transmission is.
A little bit of metal in there, huh?
And taking a look at the pan, we already know there's a little more damage than the Journey. So I'm expecting to actually find something wrong inside the case. And as soon as we take the input drum out, we can already see a little bit of carnage. We could see some clutches that were burnt down inside the input drum.
Oh, we got some burnt clutches in there. Look at that. You can tell that's smoked.
As well as some char marks on the input drum hub.
Oh man, those are smoked. Holy crap. These clutches are toast.
And it only gets worse from there on. The 2-4 clutch is completely smoked, as well as the low reverse clutch. And then when we finally take the input drum apart, we could see that the underdrive clutch was completely smoked as well. Everything else seemed pretty decent, but would still need to be replaced once we start rebuilding it. And when you see things like this, multiple burnt clutches inside a transmission, this is usually a sign that somebody knew something was wrong and just kept driving the car anyways. And this is why you always want to stop when you see something wrong with your car, because you can always prevent further damage that'll cost you more money once you get your problem out and on the bench.
All the hard parts look like they're okay. Bad news, we got some burnt clutches. But I believe we also got torque converter failure in both of these units, which means they're going to have to be cut open, rebuilt, or replaced.
The first one we're going to cut open is this nice purple one out of the Caravan, because I believe there's some pure destruction inside this thing. Now, if you've never seen me cut one of these torque converters open, we have this old cut open lathe. My dad bought this equipment a long time ago, around the time that I was born. It's been used for some time, and it's really easy to cut these things open, but not so easy to get them back together. But I want to see exactly what's wrong with both these transmissions and make sure I got the source of the damage. That way I can make sure it's corrected when I go back together.
All right, we're going to cut this screwed up torque converter open. The one that's all purple, we think is going to have some damage inside of it. So we're getting all this set up. We're setting up blades to cut it, setting up the lathe to make sure it'll cut nicely. Now again, this is same deal. We're just cutting a weld off of the converter to separate the two plates. So we start very light so we don't break the bit or cut too far into the weld and destroy it. So now you see we've got a good bit of this weld cut, but we still got a little bit, maybe about like 1/4 of an inch left. So we're gonna get it all the way back to there before we start beating on it to get it apart. All right, now you see this weld is gone. It's no longer there. So now we're just gonna be fighting what the weld created down in there. Try to get this thing all the way apart. There we go. I can already tell you right now, just by looking at this metal right here, that there is torque converter clutch failure in there. There's going to be a lot of metal in here, because what happens is as that thing spins, all the metal gets stuck to the outside walls of the converter. It throws it all to the outside walls. So what we're seeing right there is all the metal debris from the bad clutch stuck to the outside walls. we're gonna have no clutch left in this thing.
Once we get the purple torque converter cut open, we could see why it's purple. This thing is completely destroyed. It looks like the torque converter clutch wore down and then it was metal on metal for a good while, because this clutch plate has worn into the back cover so bad it looks like a record player gone wrong. And now this purple torque converter has rendered itself down to pretty much scrap metal, because there's no way we can rebuild this thing, get it back in the car, and ensure that it'll work. So we'll need a new torque converter for the Dodge Caravan. Now let's check out the Dodge Journey.
All right, so this is the other Dodge torque converter. This is out of the Dodge Journey, and this car still drove. But after about 30 minutes, it would lose transmission power and would just leave you sitting on the side of the road. And that's usually caused by a bad torque converter clutch in the torque converter that dumps debris into the pan and clogs up the filter. Let's cut this thing open and see if something's bad inside of it. I think we're gonna find it. So now you can automatically see on our other one, our purple converter, you remember there was a bunch of metal that was on the side of the converter. There's a couple pieces here, but not a lot. So here's what's wrong with it. Can't see it with the naked eye. This is the beginning of the problem. But you can see this lip right here. It's not supposed to be there. So kind of see a lip on the outside of this one too. And if we just start prying, you can see that clutch is flaking off. So all that material right there was breaking down, flaking off, and clogging up the filter. So it probably was slowly coming off of there. The more it came off of there, the more it got in the filter. You drive it for about 30 minutes, and then it would be destroyed. Oh, one of these rivets came out. Look at that. That's not good either, so we can't use that clutch plate. You know, that might have been the problem. See, the more you sit here and look at the stuff, you figure it out. So basically, what happened was this thing broke loose off of there and then got stuck between the plate and the clutch. And it just, when every time the clutch was pressed, it just started tearing that clutch apart. It's almost a perfect little, where it was riding, you could see. It was probably like, maybe it was riding like right there. Yep, that way. Tearing up the clutch, tearing out the transmission, and then all that stuff gets torn up and comes out of there, clogs up the filter and leaves you sitting on the side of the road because one little rivet went back.
This one little metal piece got stuck in between these plates and slowly grinded off this clutch, which got caught in the filter and left this car sitting on the side of the road. One little piece of metal took out a whole entire car. That's how small this stuff is, and that's how much time, energy, and money one little piece of engineering flaw can cost you.
So here's the breakdown of where we're at with money. Okay, we got a bunch of junk on the bench. Now we need to see what it means in dollars. So starting with the shop's car, which is the Dodge Journey on this side. The Dodge Journey, we bought it for $700. We bought an overhaul kit already for $235. And then we bought a piston kit for the whole transmission as well as the overhaul kit, which brings us to a total of $1,077. Now, the car that I bought, the junk on the bench right there that is no good, we bought it as well for $700, okay? Now, it wasn't at the shop, so we had to get it towed in for $75. Now, we did buy the same exact overhaul kit for $235 and the same exact piston kit for $142. And we know we're possibly going to need a torque converter as well. Hopefully, we can use the one out back, but that's not 100% guaranteed because the 62 TEs are famous for torque converter failure. Without the torque converter, though, we are already at $1,142. That's where the scoreboard's at so far, and we're going to see who does better, Eddie or the shop. So tune into the next episode where we're going to put these transmissions all the way back together, see how much money we spent, and see how well these cars drive.
Until then, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, where I post weekly content about the day-to-day things that I do. You can also follow me on TikTok and Patreon if you want to support me financially. Thanks for watching, and as always, whatever you do, make sure you work hard, make sure you play hard, and most importantly, make sure you stay dirty and subscribe. You can just call me Eddie.